Week 1 is over, and we picked every game last week. We're going to keep track of it throughout the whole season. Now, if you watch that segment, you may know we're fucking terrible at this. Don't let that dissuade you. Technically, I still finished even. I didn't have a losing record. Simon can't necessarily say the same, going going
I don't know what
5 and
you're talking about.
11, but it's okay. Week 1 is the hardest week to predict because we don't know anything about these teams. We've watched our game tape. We've studied up. We know what we're talking about this week, so we're both going 16-0.
Yeah.
We're prepared
You
now.
know, it was a tough start. It was a tough start, but we have I know we have the crew. We have the crew. They let me down. I'll be honest with you. They let me down. But you know, it's not my fault that it happened. I will not apologize for this slow start that we have here. Because we're gonna go whatever. I don't even know how many games this is. I'm not gonna bother to count. We're going 16-0 here, 17-0, whatever. I don't give a fuck. It's gonna happen. This is where the tables absolutely flip on you, Caleb. You might be sitting up on your high horse, up by three wins here. Get ready, because this is gonna get ugly here. This is where I start to pull away. I went easy
Okay.
on you the first week.
Okay. You wanted to
It's
spot
like
me 3 wins.
it's like
Well,
a handy. It's like a
I'm never.
handicap in
I'm.
golf. Like
I'm.
I had to
I'm not
give you
going
a
to
few.
give this lead up the rest of the season. So that was
Oh,
bad
all
planning
right,
on your part.
all right.
Um, because I think these games are pretty easy to predict. Starting off with our Thursday night game. Now,
Right.
again, the one flaw that we have in our system is that we record this on Wednesday. We don't know what's going to happen. This will probably go out later in the week, so the game has already happened. The rest of these games haven't, but this game has happened, so you know whether we sound like idiots or not. I'm about to fully go out on a limb and try to not sound like an idiot. I think that people smoking up the Bills' ass, or that's not a saying. You know what I mean? People
Blowing
kissing the
smoke up
Bills'
their ass.
ass, or
Blowing
just
smoke up their ass.
there we go,
Yeah.
blowing smoke up their ass. Uh, they're not smoking up their ass; they're blowing smoke up their ass. Blowing smoke up the Bills' ass.
Josh Allen's so cool.
But-
He smokes cigarettes up people's asses. Bill's Mafia, baby.
You know what I mean? People high on the Bills after last week's game, where I'm like, I just see all this Bills praise, like, wow, they look like the team. Like, to all the people who doubted them before the season, this is a performance that can put that to bed. Oh my God, like, what a great first win. Did we forget that this is against the Cardinals? A team that they were supposed to beat pretty handily, and they almost lost. Like, that was a very close game. The Cardinals held a 17-3 lead at one point. The game was very much in doubt, and the only thing that kept them in that was the play of Josh Allen. Josh Allen played fantastic, but I think it's obvious at this point that the roster isn't quite there. And this is, again, the Dolphins in September in Miami. That's hard to beat. The Bills have had the Dolphins' number for the last few years. I'm not going to lie, but I think this is a bit of the changing of the guard. I think the Dolphins will be better than the Bills this season, especially in Miami. They play this game in Buffalo. Maybe I have a different opinion just because of the weather, but
Mhm.
in Miami, I think Tua and the Dolphins finally get over this hump, and they beat the Bills. I have them 31-21.
All right. Yeah. Okay. 31-21 Bills. Or no, Dolphins. Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Okay. All right. So to get things underway, the first pick is on the board. I don't know. I don't really know which way to go on this one. My gut's kind of pulling me in two different directions because I feel weird about it because I agree with you. I think the obvious pick is to go Dolphins. They're going to be the favorite going into this week because I think a lot of people are hyping up the Bills. I have seen that online, but I think also I don't think it's going unnoticed that they did it over the Cardinals. Like people are memeing on the Cardinals too. Like it's not. I don't know, man. The idea that the Bills go 2-0 to start the year is pretty nuts. You know what? Yeah, no, I'll side with you for the first one. I think I'll stay safe, but I think I don't know. I think it could be closer than you think.
All right. Um, I'm not gonna say like. Did you give us first of all? Did you give a score
Oh
prediction
no, I
for
didn't.
your?
Oh. Um, I'll say 28, 24. Nice and
Okay,
close.
so a close game.
Yeah.
As a Seahawks fan, I hate that score line, but and if you're a
Yes.
Seahawks fan, you know why. But anyways, that's not the point. We'll move on. My list is a little bit different here. We'll go Raiders Ravens. Okay, well this is an ugly game, and I think this is one we can blow by pretty quickly. The Raiders, obviously, I mean they put up a bit more of a fight maybe than some people thought against the Chargers, but it's not necessarily like, oh yeah, I don't even need to say my pick. No, no, no. The Raiders maybe put up more of a fight than people thought against the Chargers, but the Chargers are not the Ravens. That's a completely different ballpark in terms of a matchup. I don't think this one is close at all. I think you have to start worrying about Gardner Minshew as a quarterback. Him going against this Ravens defense, even if it was worse than it was last year, is still going to be a scary thought. And I think Lamar and them kind of work out the kinks in his offense at a certain point. My Siri just came on, so that's great. Screw you, Apple. Anyways, Ravens 45 to 10.
Are you ready for this one? Raiders fans, I need you to get loud. I know I fooled you last week. This time, I'm actually with you. Get fucked. No, it's a double fake out. I am actually going with the Raiders this week. This is gonna be my early upset.
Oh my god.
This is gonna be my early upset. And it's as simple as this. I'm gonna explain it in a very simple way because when I was watching this Ravens Chiefs game, and I know it's early. I know that everything else looked really good. Their defense looked solid. Their biggest worry was O-line. Max Crosby is gonna wreck their shit. Like I think if they don't figure something out this week, like I think this is a bad week 2 matchup defensively for the Ravens in a lot of ways. I'm not high on the Las Vegas's offense at all, but Max Crosby on that line, Christian Wilkins I believe also on that line. Like that is not a fun defensive line. I don't know. I almost in a very odd way defensive to offense for the Ravens. I feel like it's not a good matchup for them. I think if the Raiders are going to be able to beat one of the upper teams in the NFL, this will be the week. Like it just makes sense logically. At least to me. I know it's a shocker. But I'm going to give it to you, Raiders fans.
You know what? You make a fair point in terms of the mismatch along the offensive and defensive line. The Raiders have that matchup handily, absolutely. Christian Wilkins, Max Crosby, yeah, they're going to dominate that O-line. I don't necessarily think it matters just because I think Baltimore wins in almost every single other category. I think that Vegas is going to have a tough time scoring. I think the Ravens will force turnovers that will put their offense in fortuitous positions. I think that's why it won't be close. But I see your point. I think if
Gardner Minshew is a Pro Bowl quarterback. All right, let's move on. Los Angeles Chargers, Carolina Panthers. A shit bowl if I've ever seen one. But this one, I don't know. This one, no, you've been picking first. I'll let you go. Never mind. I'll shut up.
So the lesson I learned last week as the Carolina Panthers got thumped into oblivion by the New Orleans Saints of all teams is that picking the Panthers in any given week is a stupid ordeal. If they win and make you look bad one week, then whatever. But I'm not gonna pick the Panthers until they prove to me that they can win a game, because they didn't do a whole lot of that last year, and I think I forgot about that going into that Saints game. I still don't like the Saints as a team. I still think they're not going to do well the rest of the season. But they show that the Panthers are just a different level of bad. Bryce Young didn't really look all that improved, still threw some bad interceptions. Yeah, no, I think against a good quarterback and against a good coach on the Chargers, doesn't really matter anything else. I'm going to pick against the Panthers until they prove me otherwise. I have this game, the Chargers, again, I don't think the Chargers are that great of a team either, so it's not like a blowout or anything, but I have them 27-12.
Yeah, You know
Oh,
what's
also,
funny?
did you give a score for your Raiders Ravens game?
I didn't. I keep forgetting that we're doing that. You know what? It's gotta be low. It's gotta be a low scoring game. It's gonna be like, I don't know, 21 to like 21 to 18. We'll do that. That's not that low, but it's lower.
Yep.
Anyway, for this one, it all, you know what? I think what we learned last year, or not last year, what am I talking about? Last game for the Chargers is sometimes you don't need weapons when you got Joe Alt delete, baby. Don't matter. I don't think anybody on that Carolina Panthers team is getting through that O line. So I think Herbert's going to have all the time in the world. It's going to be a repeat of week 1 in a lot of ways. I think that the Chargers have a fairly easy time with the Panthers. Assuming that this isn't the Bryce Young breakout, it's going to happen this year, guys. You just got to believe it's not this week, though. It's not going to happen this week. Probably not, anyway. So there you go. I'm gonna side with you. I think Chargers probably take this one. Though it's two kind of bad teams. If the Panthers are going to win one early here in like the first few weeks, I feel like this is a doable one. But I don't know. Yeah, my gut's telling me Chargers, so I'll stick with you.
Yeah. What's your score on that one? How much did they beat them by?
I liked your score a lot. 27 to like what? What did you say again?
27-12.
Yeah, 27 to 12. I don't know about 27 to 12. I'll go like 27 to like 18. Like I'll give the Panthers a little bit
Give
more
the
credit.
Panthers and
27 feels like a good score for the Chargers. So I'll go with that.
Nope, fair enough. All right, next up we got New Orleans in Dallas. Now, both of these teams coming into this game are 1-0, but I don't know. The 1-0 looks a lot different for two different teams. Dallas came in and beat albeit they looked pretty bad, a talented Browns roster and thumped them. They absolutely thumped them. Showed that the Cowboys, for as much as they struggle in the playoffs, for as many questions as you might have, and for as bad as you think their offseason might have been, they are still a very good team at the core of it. And especially in Jerry World, it's not going to matter whether the Saints are 1-0 or not. They're just a worse team. Like,
yeah,
I think by a pretty significant margin. All of my concerns about the Saints stay the same. I think the fact that the only thing that changes in my head is just that Clint Kubiak as an offensive coordinator is way better than Pete Carmichael was last year, so maybe that gives them a little bit of a boost. I think just the talent gap is too large here. I'm taking the Cowboys. I don't expect it to be close at all.
Yeah.
Dallas thumped the Browns, and the Browns are a decent bit better than the Saints. Dallas wins 40-17.
I would defensively, yes. Derek Carr's a way better quarterback than what the Browns have. But anyway, I'm gonna stick with you here. I'm not saying that because I disagree. I'm saying that I think the Saints are about to get dicked down in Dallas. This one's gonna be rough. This one's gonna be rough for them. I don't think I really predicted any blowouts last week. We didn't really see any off of memory. Or no, the Saints kind of had one actually. Now that I think about it.
Yep.
But I'm gonna say
both these teams kind of did.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I'm gonna say 35-10 Cowboys. This is gonna be like max Cowboys to the Super Bowl supremacy that we're gonna see all year long from Cowboys fans. This is gonna reach a peak here. So yeah, I'll stay. We're agreeing on a lot here. We gotta start disagreeing at some point here.
Well, don't worry. I think we're about to change that.
Ooh.
Rematch of a playoff game from last year. One that was relatively close given the expectations going into that game. Obviously, I think Tampa is going to be a pretty decent underdog, and in fact they are. I have the line at Detroit by a full 7 points.
Wow. That's pretty interesting.
So that it's a pretty big line, but I was really impressed. I know it's Washington. Washington's defense is garbage, but Baker Mayfield came out and was just slinging the rock. And this is going to be, I think, my big upset pick of the week, is that the Buccaneers avenge what happened in Detroit, and they come in and they beat the Lions. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a lot, but the Bucks still have a lot of talent. And with a quarterback playing as well as Baker did last week, if he can keep that up, which again is a task against the Lions team that's more talented, this secondary for the Lions is still shaping up. I love the additions that they've made, but for them to drop a game in week 2 and for Baker to kind of light them up a little bit, I wouldn't be too shocked. I have Tampa winning by only 4 points in a high-scoring back-and-forth game, 38-34.
Wow, that'd be a fun game. I,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I kind of see where you're going. I see the vision. I'm still gonna go with the Lions. So this is where we're gonna start to disagree now. I think this is one of those games where I like the Bucks. I like Baker. I like what they've shown us in the last season and a bit here. I really like the Lions. I think this is a chance for the Lions to really step on the gas a little bit. I think everybody already knows how good the Lions are going to be this year. This is a chance for them to really put an exclamation mark on that guy, right? This is a chance to. The Bucks are good. They're not great. They're good. I think that the Lions are great, and that's going to be a big. I think they're going to have a huge year this year, where they maybe only lose 3 or 4 times, and I don't see one of those losses going to the Buccaneers. I don't know. I feel sure there's got to be an upset in there, and you said it's an upset, right? It's not like you're picking it as an upset. I don't know. I don't think this is it. I don't think this is it. I'm gonna stick with the Lions.
All right. Do you have a score? Is it a blowout? Is it a close game?
No, it's got to be close. I'd say lower score than you're thinking. I'd say 24-18. Do that.
All right. Next up, we have a game that I think would have been a lot more interesting had the news of Jordan Love being for sure out for the game not broken. Obviously, you kind of assumed that was the case after he suffered the injury on Friday, and I think I might have picked the Packers had Jordan Love been playing in this game. But for as much as I genuinely do love Malik Willis as a quarterback in terms of coming out of the draft, I really wanted the Seahawks to take him. He seems like a great guy, and had a lot of talent and potential. He hasn't shown that at the NFL level. He hasn't shown that he has what it takes to read an NFL defense. Very mistake-prone in the little time he had with the Titans. And it showed in the fact that they really didn't give him much of a chance, and that they immediately went and drafted Will Levis, even though Willis, a third-round pick, had some people talking about him as a first-round quarterback.
Yep.
So I think you gotta kind of take away a lot of faith from the Packers at this point with the news that Willis is starting. And the Colts are a great team. We saw them push the Texans to the wire. I had them beating the Texans straight up, and even though that didn't come to fruition, we saw what Anthony Richardson could do in this Colts offense, and it looked like he picked up right where he started. I think we were kind of robbed of a good game here. I think that with Jordan Love, this is a close one. He's not in the game. It's not going to be. The Packers are going to struggle to score. Indianapolis wins 24-6.
Oh. Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you on the winner of this one. Don't really know how you can. I think if Willis came out and won here, I remember we filmed it before, which is why I'm saying I remember saying this. I think a best case scenario for this Packers team, and I'm saying this as someone who has not looked at their schedule in the next few weeks without Jordan Love. I think that at best they go 2-2, maybe 1-3. I feel like they're gonna win at least 1 or 2 in this next stretch. I don't think they drop them all without Love. I think I don't think this is one of the ones they win though. The Colts are really good. I think they're gonna be a fun team this year. So I'll side right with you. I'll go with the Colts. I'll say I don't know. I'm still not I love Anthony Richardson. I love watching him play. I'm still not sold. I'm gonna guess 18 to 10. I actually think this one's gonna be a bit of a snoozer. And that's not necessarily a shot at the Colts offense, which I do think is good. But it's not like the Packers have any injuries on that defensive side. I still think they're gonna show up. So I don't know. Without that quarterback duel that you would normally have, assuming Jordan Love was playing, I feel like it's just a snoozer. Like, I don't
Yep.
know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I agree with you on who's gonna win though.
We can move on into the next game. Now, if we hadn't had the context of what happened last week to the Cleveland Browns, I would have been a lot more inclined to pick them in this game. I think at a talent level, just purely looking at the overall talent on the roster, I think they're pretty even, and I think Cleveland may even have them beat at a certain level. Because I think as an overall roster, I think Cleveland is better. But when you have such a big question mark at quarterback, none of that really matters. We saw a complete team go out against the Browns and drive them into the dirt. Jacksonville is not nearly as good of a team as Dallas is, I don't think, in my opinion. But they have a quarterback, they have talent, and they are for sure at least a borderline playoff team. So I think the Browns, it's this is what you get: bad karma, right? You have Deshaun Watson as your quarterback. You kind of deserve this at this point.
Yep.
I have Jacksonville winning 28-17.
Oh, that's not the right face. And yeah, no, I don't disagree with you at all. I'm gonna stick with you on this one. I've got for the simple reason of fuck Deshaun Watson and everything he stands for, 62-0.
I hope that comes true.
Yeah.
Um, we can move on to less reprehensible quarterbacks by a significant margin. Um, we got the Brock Purdy Sam Darnold duel. Niners Vikings. Now,
Uh,
I think
that's a hell of a way to
Vikings
lead into it. The Sam
The only-
Darnold Brock Purdy duel, and that's not a shot at Brock Purdy. I just think, like, that's a hell of an opener. Just yeah, let's talk about the quarterbacks here. That's the fun part here.
Yes, yeah, oh, absolutely. That is definitely the best part of both of these teams.
Oh yeah.
No. I do have a
Both
lot more
wanna
faith
know.
in Brock Purdy than
Somebody's
I do.
O's gotta go,
Both
baby.
want to know. Yeah, the undefeated season is coming to an end for somebody, and that's going to be the Vikings. As much as I hate the Niners, I can't bring myself to pick against them in this scenario. The Vikings have talent, but I mean, they're not going to be able to match up against the Niners. It's not going to be anywhere near the level that the Giants are. Sam Darnold might be seeing ghosts again after this game because that defense is pretty damn good in San Francisco. Yeah, no, I don't think the Vikings have much of a chance here.
Yeah.
34-7, I have the score.
Oh, holy. Yeah, no, you know what's funny? I can't wait. We're gonna get more closer games as we go on here, but we're kind of going through a section where it's kind of like it's hard to disagree on a lot of these. Like San Francisco 49ers, Minnesota Vikings. That's not gonna be a good one. Sam Darnold revenge game, baby. He played for the 49ers. Well, he didn't play, but he was on the 49ers.
Well, he got in a couple plays. He got a couple plays.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be that much of a blowout. Like, I think 24-10. 24-10 49ers. Which is still a blowout. That's still 2 scores. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like this is the type of game where, like, the funny thing is this is the type of game where I actually feel like there is the chance for a possible upset. Because you know the 49ers are going into this week. They had Sam Darnold in the locker room. They're scoffing. They're like, this guy's playing quarterback. Sam Darnold, 5 tutties. 5 tutties on your head. On your head.
He played very well against the Giants. I mean, the asterisk is that it was the Giants, but
yeah,
he
exactly.
played very well.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, I still don't think that's gonna happen. But I don't know. It would be fun. It would be very funny. But anyway, now we get into.
Oh, I mean, I would love that. I would love that.
Well, Speaking
of why I would
yes.
love that.
Yeah.
So the Seahawks are gonna crush the Patriots this week. Anyway, no, I don't actually think that they'll. I don't think it'll be a blowout or anything. I think this game, as a Seahawks fan myself, I am a lot more scared of this game after seeing what the Patriots did to the Bengals. That kind of terrifies me a little bit, but I still think that talent-wise, looking at these two rosters, I think the Seahawks still get ahead, particularly on offense.
Yeah.
Even though the Patriots beat the Bengals last week, that offense is still pretty suspect, other than Ramondre Stevenson just kind of ripping the Bengals apart from down the middle. The Seahawks' run defense was actually very good last week against the Broncos. A stark departure from last year, but that's the Mike McDonald effect.
Yes.
I think their defense clamps down on this Patriots offense and makes it a real struggle to score. I do think this Patriots defense also kind of clamps down on the Seahawks a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, there will be the talent gap will kind of become apparent, and the Seahawks will hold on to a game that we all kind of leave going, well, shit, that was closer than it should have been. But the Seahawks will get the win. And props to this Patriots team. They're given. They gave us reason to believe against the Bengals, and I think even in a loss here, they'll give us reason to say, hey, they fought hard. That defense is legit. Props to Gerard Mayo. I had Seahawks winning only by a touchdown, 20-13.
Okay. All right. I this is another one where I'm really conflicted. I think God, it'd be so funny if the Pats started this year 2-0. That'd be so funny. After like how much including us, we were victims of this too. We thought they were going to be terrible. I think we both said that they were going to be absolutely insanely bad. And last week really kind of flipped it on its head a little bit. Yeah, no, I guess I'll stick with the Seahawks. I feel lame.
Okay, good. Because I was about to lose my mind on you if you picked the Patriots.
I feel lame. It's the lame pick. I want to go with the Pats here, and that's not me saying that I want the Pats to beat the Seahawks. That's me saying I think the storyline would be really funny, and in a lot of ways, I think I cheer for comedy in a lot of ways. In sports, I cheer for comedy, and I think the Pats winning, going back to starting the season 2-0 would be so funny, because I absolutely think after that they're gonna lose 10 straight. I don't think they hold on to this. I think
they have a rough schedule.
Yeah, I think they fall off a bridge pretty quick, but I think that the fact that they'd start 2-0 would make that much funnier. I don't think it happens though. I think Seattle probably wins. I don't even know if it's as close as you're saying it would be. I feel like Seattle. 24 to 14. Do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm calculating in the fact that this is early season Seahawks, and early season Seahawks sometimes is a little funky, and makes games closer than they should be.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think I hope that's what happens.
Right.
It's more of a blowout than I'm hoping.
Do you want to skip?
We'll
this
move on
week?
to our next game.
Or do you want to skip this one? Just want to, just.
How do you know that I'm gonna pick the Jets?
Go ahead.
How do you know that I'm gonna pick the Jets?
Go ahead.
Jets Titans. I think this is a more interesting matchup than most people might think. They're coming off of performances where obviously both 0-1. So not great. But the Jets kind of looked really concerning, honestly. You go out and you have some people, I don't know who, claiming they're going to be like the number 1 seed in the AFC and whatnot, which is pretty ridiculous in my opinion. I don't know who those people might be. But they really looked not great in that first game against the Niners. And not just the offense, where they really only had that one drive that looked promising, and the rest of it they kind of got suffocated. It was also their defense, which I know it's San Francisco. I know Kyle Shanahan's going to beat the best of teams to death. But I don't know. that still scared me a lot that the vaunted Jets defense, the strength of that team, got beat up that easily. That's the reason they lost that game. So there's reason for pause for me with this Jets team. Now, I'm saying this,
Yeah.
but I am still going to pick the Jets. I'm giving a long preamble to just say that I think that this will be a closer game than people think. The Titans almost scared the Bears, but the quarterback play just wasn't where it's supposed to be. Will Levis was not where he's supposed to be. There is a huge talent gap between these two teams, but I think it'll give the Jets a real scare, to where like I could see the Jets fans leaving this game and being so depressed, even though they won. I have it coming down to a 1-point game between the Jets and the Titans, 28-27.
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be real good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, put it in a museum. The absolute sadness that we saw of Will Levis hitting his knees. Give me the Mayo Man. Absolute shocker pick. You thought I was serious? You thought that I was going to sit here and actually take the Jets after that whole thing? Fuck no. Give me the Mayo Man. The Mayo Man's got it. Mayo Man supremacy. That dude, did you see how devastated he was at that pick? Did you see how devastated he was? He fell to his knees. Hundreds, thousands, millions fell to their knees in Walmart parking lots across America when that happened. With that being said, he never throws a pick again. 7 straight Super Bowls. Give me the Mayo Man. Give me the Tennessee Titans. Let's do this thing. 34-6.
By how much? Ooh. All right. I will say, I don't even think I caught him falling to his knees because I just saw how fucking horrid that interception was. Or he basically just pulled a me and Matt and closed his eyes and chucked it up in the air to the nearest Bears defender. So that's what's on my mind. That's what gives me pause. Honestly, if he didn't do that, I might be picking the Titans with you. But no, not this week. Now let's move on to a snoozer of the game that nobody with eyeballs should be subjected to. Giants at Commanders. So this is a bit of a dumpster fire.
Is this the one that's in Germany? Or am I thinking of someone else?
No, the one that's in Germany or wherever is Giants Panthers, which is even worse.
Yes. You know what? I don't know if you were seeing the jokes, but there's people. The joke that was going around is that's
the final punishment.
Yeah, for World War II, which is awesome. That's so funny.
That's very funny. But no, honestly,
is this our first
game,
toilet bowl?
Yes, this is our first toilet bowl, tank bowl, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty bad. I give this game to Washington for Jaden Daniels being my only reason. I have like negative faith in Daniel Jones at this point. Played very poorly against the Vikings, and I don't think the Vikings are going to be a very good team. I think the Commanders' defense looked pretty atrocious, but and honestly, I mean, the Commanders didn't get anything done through the air either. Like Terry McLaurin had like 17 receiving yards. Neither of these teams are good. The only time I think I'm picking Washington to win is when they're playing a team as bad as the Giants. I have Washington in an absolute stinker, 10-3. Turn off your fucking TVs.
Oh God, can I pick neither? Can I pick a tie? I'm not gonna do that.
You
but
can pick a tie. You can pick a tie if you want to.
I'm not going to, but I that's how I feel about this.
If you're ever right on picking a tie, then you win the whole thing.
You know what? No. We should say like that reverses like 50. That reverse, not win the whole thing, but like with that reverses 50. I don't know. This game's so garbage that I feel like, I just don't know. I don't feel like the Commanders are that much worse than the Vikings necessarily, and I see what you mean by Jaden Daniels. So I'm like, I don't know. Let's both be on opposite sides of the toilet bowl. Let's make it fun. I'll go Giants. I'm not going to try and defend it because I am kind of leaning towards Commanders, but let's have fun with it. We have too many ties on this board right now. So I'll let you take Commanders. I'm taking Giants. The trick play toilet bowl.
All
Let's get this shit underway.
All right. What's your score for the toilet bowl?
Sweet Jesus. Like 2-0. it's gonna be a safety.
Safety that wins the game.
Yeah. It's gonna be great.
Shout out to the Broncos for getting 2 safeties in a game and losing.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
You guys want to hear something funny actually? I've been doing the Road to Glory in College Football 25. I am now. It's funny because it's actually going now really well, but there was like a serious like bottom of the valley. This is like the floor. I have hit the floor of like how terrible things can be. I was on Vanderbilt. Like I managed to make Vanderbilt start me in like I think it was my sophomore year, and I pulled an Orlovsky and like ran out the back of the end zone with my scrambling quarterback and just like I turned off my PS5. I was done. That was my I have been playing for too long. I do not deserve to play this game anymore. I am sorry, Vanderbilt.
Yep.
But it turned around.
It's okay, Vanderbilt fans.
I'm
used to that at this
I'm
point.
the quarterback for Michigan. We just won a national championship. We're going one more year, and then we're going to the draft. This shit's gonna be great. It's gonna be one last year for all the marbles. There you go. That's the lore in my Road to Glory. All right, back to real football.
I was gonna try to find a fun transition, but I couldn't do anything.
No, back to real football.
It's kind of like the Vanderbilt of the NFL is probably Arizona, because they fucking suck. Anyways, that is not to give enough credit to Arizona for what they did last week. Quite honestly, to take that Bills team, even though I think the Bills are a lot worse than people think they are, and I think the fact that it was that close against the Cardinals is an indication of that. But I do think it meets somewhere in the middle too. I do think the Cardinals are a bit better than people think, even if I still think they're going to be, last in their division. Like, still not a very good team with a losing record. I still think you have to respect them quite a bit more than you did last year. Again, just having Kyler Murray back there makes a world of a difference. And this Rams team gives me a lot of pause going into this game. Cooper Kupp had to carry the load for himself because Puka Nacua is out. 4 of their 5 offensive line starters injured or out for other reasons. That is very concerning. This is going to be you gotta pick a couple upsets every week, and I just think those injury woes for the Rams combined with how well the Cardinals played last week, I think that's what does it. Walk-off field goal for the Cardinals has them winning at home 27-24.
27-24. Okay. I disagree. I think the injuries suck for the Rams. I think that makes it tough. I still think with the injuries, they're better than the Cardinals. I think that what we learned last year, or I keep saying last year, what we learned last week from the Cardinals is that they can stay in games. Like, they're good enough to stay in them. I don't think it'll be a blowout by any means, but I'm not going to pick this as my upset. I am going to stick with the Rams. I still think that they pull out a win here. And I'll say, like, 20-17. Like, I'd say this game, like, compared to what you would normally expect from a divisional, I feel like it's going to be another snoozer a little bit, where maybe it gets more interesting towards the end because it's close. But I don't know. I kind of would expect, like, I don't know, maybe a bit of a drop-off game for Kyler. Stafford doesn't play great. Like, he's just fine. I don't know. I just don't expect much out of that game, honestly.
Well, that's fair. The game that I expect a lot from at this point is the next game. Now, again, we talked about this, I guess, in the upcoming segment now, because we're kind of switching how we ordered them. But the Bengals, obviously very concerning performance against the Patriots last week. You have to be worried, again, with how much their offense stalled, and just with how poor they looked overall. That was not supposed to be a very good Patriots team at all, and they got manhandled by them. and they're completely stuck in the mud. That's a big issue. However, I still believe in this team for a few reasons. A point I'll reiterate in the upcoming segment is that the Bengals losing at the start of the season is just a thing. It doesn't matter how bad the teams they're playing are, it's just a thing. Under Zach Taylor, they have only won once. He's been the coach since 2019. I remember that game, Bengals Seahawks Week 1. That was his first game, 2019. They lost that game. They managed to lose every single other Week 1 game other than a 27-24 overtime win over the Vikings. So that game was even still close. It doesn't matter how good the team was for the rest of the year. The Bengals have been good for a while now. They have lost that Week 1 game every single year. It's just continuing on that tradition. Jamar Chase was coming back from a holdout. T. Higgins dealing with an injury. They're going to round into form. Now, this is still a very tough game to pick. Kansas City obviously played really well, but I'm going with my gut here. I'm going with the team that has owned Kansas City in the past, and this is going to be, I think, my last kind of shocker pick here, because I don't think a lot of people are picking the Bengals after what happened last week. And this is the game where they say, you know what, that was an aberration. Week 1 lies to you a lot of the time. We're back. It's still going to be close, though, 38-35.
Okay. So you're predicting a bit of a very good offensive showing from both of these squads. I don't know. I'm not as high on the Bengals as you are. I still think they're a good team. I think they're a good team when they show up. I think they're a good team when Joe Burrow can lift up a water bottle. But I don't think that they're better than the Chiefs. I don't think so. Even a full strength Bengals, I think, isn't as good as this Chiefs squad. I think at this point, you gotta learn. I know the Chiefs aren't necessarily a regular season team. We saw that last year. We've seen that in the past. They drop games that they probably should win, just to go on and win them in when it matters. I don't know. I still think that this is it's in Kansas City. I don't know, man. I'm feeling like the Chiefs are gonna win it. I don't think it'll be insane. I'm not expecting the same level of game that you are. I think it's gonna be like 31 to 21. We'll say that. I think it's gonna be about a 10-point game. I think maybe. Yeah, I don't know. The Bengals obviously need a really big bounce back game. In a way, I feel like this will be it, because when you lose to the Patriots, you should lose to the Chiefs 50-0. Right? I feel like this will be a bounce back game, but not enough to beat the Chiefs.
No, and that's fair. And I kind of went back and forth on it too. I was very much hesitant to pick the Bengals, but I'm sticking with my gut. I had them doing really well in my predictions before the season. I'm not going to let Week 1 phase me. I'm going with the Bengals here. To switch gears to a much less exciting game, Pittsburgh at Denver. This is a really bad matchup for Denver and Bo Nix. For Bo Nix as a quarterback to go in and face Mike McDonald and the Seahawks defense in Week 1, which he really struggled with. And if you watch that game, even though the Seahawks only won by 6, Bo Nix had about 3 interceptions that were in the hands of Seahawks defenders that were just dropped. Witherspoon had about 2. Terrell Dodson had 1. There were a couple other bad throws that could have been picked off. And he still already had multiple interceptions in the game.
Yeah.
So that's to say, going up against a Steelers defense that has TJ Watt that just humiliated the Falcons, it doesn't really matter how good Justin Fields or whoever is playing quarterback is playing, because this defense is just going to shut down Denver. And I think Justin Fields plays a little bit better than he did last week, just because he knows that he's going to be the starter from a little bit earlier on. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers winning 23-13.
Do we know that Wilson's not starting?
Yes.
We do?
Yes, I believe it was announced.
Okay.
Yes.
In that sense, that makes my decision a lot easier, actually, because I agree with you. I think this is a pretty... I agree. I think this is a pretty big mismatch this early in the year. Bo Nix does not look ready, or at least he didn't against the Seahawks. And maybe that's, like you pointed out, maybe it's because he faced a tough defense. It's not like things get any easier, at least not this early on. I feel like it's really tough because I think after a loss here to the Steelers, there's gonna be people talking. There's gonna be people talking. Like there is it
I
is
think you
this
got to give
guy.
him some slack.
Oh, absolutely, and that's where I was going with that. Is you should. Like I don't think when you lose to that two really good defenses in that sort of fashion, I don't think that means it's over. It ain't over yet. I think with the decision making though, it's fair to question it, especially if he has another multi pick game. But no, it's too early. It's too early even if the Broncos lose. It's not like we looked at this team and went, the one thing they're missing is Bo Nix. They got it. They got everything else. No, no, they still suck. They stink. I think even take quarterbacks out of the conversation, I still think the Steelers are a better team, and by quite a margin too. So I think, and then when you do put quarterbacks in, Justin Fields versus Bo Nix, at this point, Justin Fields by a mile. So I think when you just break it down like that, it's a fairly easy one. I think we'll maybe see a little bit more out of Bo Nix. You know what? I wonder if like maybe part of it was the fact that they went into that week one going like, Seahawks defense won't be that bad. You know what I mean? Maybe they underestimated the Seahawks defense. You're going into Pittsburgh. Or, no, the game's in Denver, but you're going into a game against Pittsburgh. You know what to expect out of Pittsburgh. They're going to play you hard, they're going to play you rough, and they got a good defense. I think maybe the fact that they know that, hope maybe Bo Nix comes a bit more prepared. I'm going to say like 17-10. It's not going to feel that close when we're watching it, but I still think it'll be a spiritual blowout by the Steelers. It was never in question, but the offense doesn't really do anything crazy. 17-10.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of what happened with the Seahawks and the Broncos last week. After the Broncos get after that lead, it was kind of a spiritual blowout until the Broncos made it close at the end. Next game, our Sunday night game, Chicago, Houston. I think this game, personally, was a lot more interesting before week one, where we saw Caleb Williams and the offense struggle as much as it did. And we saw the Texans excel as much as they did against a good opponent. I know I said you got to take week one with a grain of salt because week one can lie, and I believe it is lying in the cases of a lot of these teams. But here, I think just both of those cases put together, I think you have to go with the Texans. I think it's going to be the kind of game where it's like Caleb Williams will show improvement. He will look better than he did last week. He will throw his first touchdown. He'll have more chemistry with his receivers. Like, that will build, but it is not going to be enough against a team that has already proved itself as a playoff contender in the AFC. I have the Texans 35-26.
Okay. I'm gonna agree with you. I think this is a fairly chalky one. It's kind of rough that this happened so early. I know when we talked about the games we're looking forward to going into this upcoming year at a certain point, we did that segment. This was one of the ones on my list because it's C.J. Stroud versus Caleb Williams. It's gonna be good. We're gonna get a lot of good stuff. I think this will be a much better game for Caleb Williams. As good as the Texans defense is, I do think this will be a better game. I think now he's played in the NFL. He can say that. It's done, right? The debut of the chosen one it's through, right? That's over. Now it's just about correcting. It's about getting better, waking up the next day and playing a little bit stronger. He's got the weapons. I think he turns it around a little bit here. I still think that the Texans run away with it. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like it'll be like 31 to like 20. No, 30. I already said that. I'm gonna 31-18. I'm gonna say that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I'm saying that with the fact that I do think those 18 points for the Bears, we're going to see something out of Caleb Williams. It's not like he's not going to get pushed around, but he's going to score a few touchdowns. He's going to look good. It's just about, I don't know. It's what happens. Will it be enough to beat the Texans? No. No, probably not. Not this early.
No. and that's pretty fair. And I think going into this last game, Monday Night Football, it's an interesting matchup,
Yeah.
but I think it is pretty similar to the Bears-Texans game in terms of what did we see from them last week? Do I think it's kind of an aberration? Do I think it'll get sorted out? For both of these teams, I still have some doubts in the Eagles, but a lot of those were put to bed with how well they played against what I think is a very good Packers team. They had Jordan Love for the whole game until the very end, so that's not like the injury takes away from that victory at all. They played very well. Saquon Barkley and that Eagles offense was a match made in heaven. Fantastic outing. The Falcons, on the other hand, and I mean, I predicted it in week one. I think that was the prediction I was the most like. It got that one. But they looked like they were struggling to kind of get it all together. And there's a lot of new pieces in this offense. In terms of how it's going to all mesh together. Coaching is new, obviously. Quarterback is new. Everybody outside of essentially those, like the offensive line and the skill players that everybody talks about. Like you bring in Darnell Mooney, right? Like there's a lot new in this offense. It's a new system. It's a new head coach. It's a new OC. That's a lot to change in one off season. It's going to take some time to implement. And against a good team like an Eagles, in Philadelphia, the week where it's all going to come together is not this week. I still think the Falcons are definitely going to contend for the division. I think Kirk Cousins gets his stuff together. This is just a tough test for that to happen. Again, honestly, for very different reasons, I just see it very similarly to the game we just talked about, where I could see there being improvements from the Falcons. Stuff starts to flash. Bijan looks pretty good. You get Drake London going down the field, Kyle Pitts, all that. We start to see what we were envisioning, but it's not going to be enough. I have the Eagles winning 29-18.
Okay. Okay. I I see what you're putting down. I am going to go the other direction with it. I do feel like this is a close game. I think this is going to be really interesting. I think I'm happy you went Eagles because honestly, I think for this prediction, I probably would have gone. It's the final game of the week. We've gone together on a lot of these. I probably would have gone with whatever team you didn't pick. But I'm happy you went Eagles because my gut is telling me Falcons. I feel like with all the hype we've seen, this team, they can't start 0-2. I don't know. It would suck. It would suck a lot. They can. Like, they're playing the Eagles. It's not like it's not in the cards. It's not like it's impossible, but I don't like it. I don't like the odds of it happening is kind of what I'm trying to say. So, with all that being said, I'll pick the Falcons. I'll say we're going to get a good one, but it's not necessarily going to be a high scoring. It's going to be like 24-20. 24-21. Something like that.
All right. There you have it. There is our week 2 predictions. Now, very interesting. I think this week is kind of a little bit of a weaker slate, honestly, than we had last week. A lot of
we had a
ones where we're kind of going together on this. Yeah, we did. There are some snoozers in here, but it's still very interesting. It's still a lot of fun to go through this and eventually whoop your ass in the standings. I mean, as we can see, that's happening right now, but that lead's just going to extend. So be sure to tune in next week when my lead grows by even more than 3 wins. That's what you have to look forward to.
It's not what happened. It's what's down the road, and what's down the road for you is one hell of an ass whooping, because you're not gonna be ready. You're not gonna be ready for when the mailman absolutely shits on the Jets. Did you see when he got on his knees? He prayed to the heavens. He put out one last Hail Mary, if you will, saying that he will never throw another pick. It's never gonna happen again. And with that being said, the Mayo Man, Mr. Levis, is going to absolutely run a train over the Jets. So there you go.
Okay, Mr. 5-11. That's all I got to say.
All right.